Hey guys, welcome to my picoCTF series. I'm going to be focusing on the pico capture the flags, and hopefully you're going to learn something, or I'm going to learn something. Someone's going to learn something. That's the aim. And I'm probably going to be doing between 1 and 3 challenges per video. So initially I think there'll be probably 2 or 3 per video, because I think a lot of these are fairly simple CTFs. For those who don't know, a CTF is a capture the flag exercise, and the idea is that you complete a challenge and you obtain a flag, and then you submit that flag to the system that's hosting the CTF, and it proves to the system that you've completed that challenge. So in the case of obedientcat, for example, this is the most, I believe it's the most solved CTF on picoCTF, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is because it's the first one, and also it's probably the easiest. So I'll go through these, but they're very simple, and it really, I think this is more to sort of get you used to the shell and to the environment that I'm using, rather than actually doing anything super technical and being a pen tester. The stuff that you'll learn here today, it is stuff that pen testers do, but it's very kind of basic. So the first thing we need to do is decide, well, I know that I want to put my CTF stuff in this directory, right? picoCTF. But I don't want all of the CTFs to be in this directory. I want to create subdirectories. So to do that, I need to run make dir, right? And to do that, the first one is called obedientcat. So I'd like to create a directory called obedientcat. So let's do that. You can see that it worked, but you can see that although I specified a backslash in the make dir command, it didn't appear in the actual name of the directory. And the reason for that is because this backslash is basically saying that the following character, i.e. the space, should not be treated literally. So if we were to do something like make dir obedientcat without the backslash, the make dir binary would treat obedient and cat as 2 separate arguments to the utility, right? And a lot of Unix utilities will support multiple arguments. So if we do this, if I run this command, what do you think will happen? You can feel free to pause the video and think about this, discuss this, do the research, bearing in mind that I've also run this command as well. So when I run ls here, what do you think will show up? Let's find out. So you can see that we have cat obedient and obedientcat, and the reason for that is because, like I said, the make dir command accepts multiple arguments, and when it gets multiple arguments, it will create multiple directories. And in this case, it created obedient and cat as 2 separate directories because these are treated as 2 separate arguments. When you include the backslash, it will treat the space as not a literal. It will treat it as part of 1 argument. So this would be considered 1 argument. There is another way that you can create directories with spaces in them without using the backslash, and that is through quotation. So you could do something like this, and you can see that although there's a space and there's no backslash, it's not treated as 2 separate arguments because of the quotations. The quotations mean that this is treated as 1 argument, so you just get 1 directory. Okay, so let's go in here and let's download that flag. So we copy this link and we paste, and we need to see the contents of this. So wget is a command which will download files from the internet over HTTP or HTTPS. Wget may also support other protocols. This is a challenge this is some research that you should do. Come and tell me, does wget support downloading other files from different protocols? So we can see here that the flag file, there is a flag file. It was created by, so if we remove this flag file, there's nothing in here, and we run wget, and then we run ls again, you see that this flag file was created after running wget. So we can be reasonably confident that the wget file downloaded this URL, and the contents of that URL are now sitting in a file called flag in this directory, the obedientcat directory. I want to see what the contents of this flag are. what the contents of this file are. So there's a couple ways I can do that. I can use a text editor like Vim or Nano or that, but I don't want to modify, like the thing about text editor is that it will modify the contents of it allows you to modify the contents of the file. And we don't necessarily, in this case, we don't want to do that. We just want to see the contents. We just want to view it. So we can run a command called cat, which is short for concatenate. And if we do that, you can see that we have what to me looks like a flag. So let's try submitting that here and see what happens. This is the 6th time tonight that I've done that. It looks good, and that's what we expect. Yeah, I'm definitely recording. just joking. So we've done the first challenge. We've downloaded this flag. We've outputted the contents of the flag, and we've provided the flag back to the system. So the system knows that we've done this challenge. So we've done the first challenge. We can now move on to something called mod 26, which is the second challenge in the picoCTF series. And you can see here that we have, it looks kind of like a flag, but again, not entirely, because you can see the first characters here, they don't match picoCTF. But you know, maybe it'll work. So let's just provide it and see what happens, right? Okay, it doesn't work. So we need to do something with this string before it's accepted as the flag. And the thing about being a pen tester is that data gathering is like the most important thing. You need to be good at data gathering, you need to be fast, and it needs to be accurate. And when you're doing a CTF especially, they do leave breadcrumbs. There's normally clues scattered about. You're kind of like, when you're pen testing, you're kind of like an investigator. You're trying to gather information. Like, information gathering is very, very important. I can't overestimate how important data gathering is as a pen tester. It's what differentiates the good testers from the great testers. So when I'm looking at this CTF, there's a couple of things that stick out to me. One is cryptography, and the other one is ROT13. ROT13 is a substitution cipher, but I wouldn't consider it a form of encryption because it's very easy to break, and it doesn't require a key. There's no symmetric or asymmetric keys here. So what we need to do is, there's two things we can do. We need to find out what how does ROT13 work? That's what we need to know. And is there a ROT13 tool that we can use that we can put this string into and get some kind of sensible output? Fortunately, there is. There's a tool called CyberChef, which is a nice tool. It's very useful. It's probably the best thing that the British government ever built. Well, in my opinion, it's the one thing I use the most. You can trust the code because it's open source. I don't think the government's going to come knocking on your door if you use this utility, but it's definitely something that I've got in my arsenal of tools because it does so many things beyond ROT13. It's a great tool. So it uses this thing called recipe. So you provide the input here, you have a recipe here, and then you have the output. So it's kind of like input, process, output, right? So if we take this flag, for example, copy that. If we then put it in here, you can see that it looks like that could be the flag, right? So another interesting thing to do is you can ROT13 twice if you want, and what you'll get is kind of the output will be the same as the input because you're essentially substituting by 26 characters. So A becomes N becomes A, right? So this is what I'd expect to see, but we don't want to do it twice. We just need to do it once. So here's the flag. What I suspect is the flag. Let's try submitting it and see what happens. Okay, so that worked, which is great. So that's 1 and 2. The third challenge and the last one that we're going to look at tonight is Python Wrangling. And this is the first CTF where you need to kind of get involved because you need to download a script. You need to kind of do things. It's not just simple. It's kind of just simple. So let's download this Python script. That's the first thing we need to do. One thing I would say about downloading random code off the internet is that you should read through it and make sure that it's not doing something you don't expect, like maybe it's a fork bomb, or maybe there's some kind of callback home, or there's something that deletes something. Like, you should always check. If you didn't write the code yourself, especially if it's a CTF, you should check what's in it before you run it. And you really should run this in a VM as well. So if you're doing a CTF, get a VM, get a virtual machine. Don't just run it on the bare metal, because if you value the bare metal, if you value the contents of the data on your bare metal, you should be running this in a VM. But I'm not doing that because I trust picoCTF, kind of. So, okay. We have, oh, I've done something wrong. I want to create different directories for all my CTFs. So I've just created the Python Wrangling directory. I need to move the file that I downloaded with wget into that directory. So now we just have, in the picoCTF directory, we just have obedientcat and Python Wrangling, which is fine. We can now go into Python Wrangling. Our file's in there. We've already checked it. It looks safe to me. I'm happy to run it. So let's run it like so. You can see that it accepts 2 arguments, the E or D flag and a file. And fortunately, the flag file is available to us here, so we can download that. We have a flag file. It looks like a base64 encoded string, but I mean it is, but it's also encrypted, right? It's encrypted with a symmetric key, which we have to provide, and if we don't provide it, we can't get the flag. So let's download that password file, and I'm assuming in this password file is a password, and this password we can use to decrypt the file using the Python script they provided us. So let's run that with this password file and see what we get. Okay, so that to me looks like a flag. Let's try submitting it and seeing what happens. Pretty sure it's going to work. Okay, I've solved that challenge again. So now we've done the first 3 challenges, and so far so good, right? It's not been too scary and it's not been too difficult. I think it's going to get more difficult when we look at stuff like cryptography, forensics, and binary exploitation, but we're on this journey together. We're going to get as far as we can. I'd like to get to the end, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. And yeah, that's all I'm doing tonight. I'll pick this up again tomorrow, maybe day after, and we'll go from there. Hopefully you'll see me in the next video. Bye bye.